Let me rope in Major General Mohammed Ali Shah. Sir, now thank you for joining us this morning on this story. We're learning that the CDS has said that creating a rocket force is what they're looking at, and the use of technology is important to combat national security challenges. What are your thoughts on this?
Absolutely, CDS is absolutely right when he says this, because, as we all know, we have very unfriendly neighbors. On the west, it's Pakistan. On the east, it's China. And a part of POK, Afghanistan as well. For that, I don't mean Afghanistan, I mean Taliban, which also said about a week back, Shaheen said that we have all the right to speak on behalf of the Kashmiri Muslims. No one asked him to say that, so he should know how to where to draw the boundary anyhow. Now, when the General Bipin Rawat says that, he means that we need modern technology, because the modern warfare is not going to be fought man to man with guns, face to face. No. It is going to be fought with modern technology, and the use of rockets, the use of air power is very, very essential for that. For example, I'll give you an example of drones for that matter. Earlier, there used to be suicide bombers. The terrorists used to send across suicide bombers. Thereafter, they came kamikaze drones. Thereafter, they came suicide drones and different drones. So a drone which is dropped, thereafter we don't need it back at times. Similarly, General Bipin Rawat means that we need to advance our technology in such a way that we are prepared for any external aggression, and our adversaries should be actually fearing us, that they do not, because India is a peace-loving nation. हम किसी को छेड़ेंगे नहीं, लेकिन किसी ने अगर हमको छेड़ा तो हम उसे छोड़ेंगे नहीं. So in case someone tries acting funny with us, we should be well prepared to safeguard our borders for that matter.
Right, sir. What can we expect from this particular rocket force that the CDS was talking about?
See, the rocket force is as simple as any air power. Like in the army also, we have army aviation, we have drones. So we do not really have them in the army as well. And CDS, when he is the chief of the Army, Navy, Air Force, he is a visionary with regards to our sea, land and air. So the rocket force is basically nothing but sitting in a room. You can just merely press a button and you can launch counter attacks through air. That is as simple as that. It's as simple as that, in fact.
Right. So now, of course, the situation in terms of terrorism is worsening with regards to Afghanistan, what's happening in Afghanistan, and Pakistan, of course, providing its support and harboring terrorists in Afghanistan and other states. Now, do you think that, of course, recently a Pakistan-based ISI module also was busted in Delhi. So do you think now increasing our defense capability and technology in the defense sector is of utmost need?
Absolutely, it is a need of the hour and it is the utmost need, and that is the reason why we have maximum budget in the government for defense. A lot of people ask, why is the defense budget so much? Why we are a peace-loving nation? Yes, that is why it's called defense budget and not an offensive or an attack budget. It's to defend our motherland. And yes, the need of the hour is modernizing our equipment, and which we are doing, which we see our Air Force, see our Navy. We have INS Dhruv, we have INS Wagir, we have Rafales in the Air Force coming in, and the INS, the Indian Naval ships, are in the Navy. We have our Army modernizing its equipment. Apart from that, we have also worked on our infrastructure. For example, just about a few days back, the Defense Minister inaugurated the airstrip at Barmer, the emergency landing airstrip. He also inaugurated 48 bridges across the country, especially in Leh Ladakh and Northeast, for that matter. So we are well prepared, and that is the need of the hour, because, as you rightly mentioned, our neighbors are hostile, and it is not good to have hostile neighbors. We can take an example of our own small house where we live. Here, if we have hostile, we have to maintain very good relationships with our neighbors. But if we have hostile neighbors, it will be difficult for them and for us. And everybody wants to live in peace at the end of the day. So we have to be well prepared to safeguard our frontiers in case, like for example, China, who believes in winning war without fighting. They believe in biological warfare, cyber warfare, psychological warfare, all kind of warfare they will launch, and who do not have the courage actually to come forward and face and fight. Unlike in Indian Army, we fight man to man. We have the courage to come forward and face the enemy. But our adversaries don't have that courage to do that. I have served in Jammu and Kashmir and in Northeast. I have seen closely both the insurgency, both the counter-terrorism operations over there. Let me tell you, the Pakistani military is as good as Taliban or ISIS, they are part of an Islamic State only. And on the China border, I have spent my childhood in the China border. My father was posted over there at that time. So even the Chinese military, for that matter, they will try coming because since as you all know, the Indo-China border is not very clearly demarcated. So they are often man-to-man confrontation on the Indo-China border. So that is the reason it's very, very important to have this technology and these rockets, air power, so that enemy, even psychologically, enemy does not dare to mess with us for that matter.
Right, so of course the Chief of Defence Staff emphasized on technology. In fact, went ahead to say that technology must be considered the fifth pillar of the national power after diplomacy, information, military and economic prowess. Now, what do you think are the new ways and technology that we can incorporate, like a drone technology, a rocket technology?
See, we are well equipped in terms of drone technology. See, air power is actually very, very important. Like, for example, in 1971 war in Longewala, we had the Bravehearts, 120 Bravehearts of the Punjab regiment, and we had the Air Force giving them support early morning when the Hunter aircraft took off at the first light of day. So it is very important to have modernized warfare. Because as I told you, the future war would not be fought with man-to-man, or we do not need soldiers now who can do 100 push-ups. We need someone with an analytical mind who can operate technology, who can operate a laptop, who can operate like in the army itself, in the artillery, we have the Agni missiles, we have the rocket missiles, we have the different kind of equipment. Apart from the equipment I used to handle was 105 mm Indian field gun, which had a range of 17 kilometers, 200 meters. So apart from that, we need equipment, we need weaponry which can actually reach the enemy from a long distance, long range missile for that matter.
Right, and sir, picking up on the point where you spoke about organized warfare, General Rawat also said that any war will be precisely fought by the theatre commands on an approved plan made by the chief of the staff committee. Now, of course, do you think that, especially because Taliban and several other, like Al-Qaeda, several other terrorist forces, they are increasing their capability in terms of planning ahead of time as well as technology. So, do you think now we need to up our game and ensure that we are one step ahead of them at all times, because they are starting to incorporate more technology in their terror schemes?
Absolutely, and what they would actually not be knowing is where their thinking stops, our thinking starts from there. So General Bipin Rawat also said that nobody was expecting Taliban to take over Afghanistan so soon. Well, people had expected Taliban to take over because the way the things were going in Afghanistan, because once the US military withdrew from there, one had expected, but not so soon. So now he also spoke about the security doctrine, about military challenges, about the process in the armed forces, where we can. So, of course, I mean, the advancement in military technology and where the enemy of our adversary, I would say, when they stop thinking, our thoughts, our intelligence should grow over there. Our network should grow over there. Our technology should grow over there. We should be much, as you rightly said, we should be much ahead of the enemy in terms of our thoughts. Only when we are ahead of them in terms of our thoughts will our actions be ahead of them, in fact.
Right, and you know, any last thoughts in terms of our technology that we need to bring into the armed forces, and you know how we should start incorporating it?
See, when I finished my short service stint in the army, I worked with a firm which deals in modernized military equipment. In fact, I worked with them for about 4 years. Now, there was an equipment called the military system. For example, you can just sit in your command post in your office and you can control the movement of your soldiers, about your weaponry, about everything. Similarly, that is exactly where we are headed. We are going for a more of a digitized warfare now. And the last thoughts would be, yes, we have to just keep our morale up, maintain our spirits up, and everything will fall in its place. That is the reason in the army we asked the famous line from the movie Uri, how the George. It's not a line from a movie, it is actually a real terminology, an army terminology, which we use on a day-to-day basis. So for that, my last thought would be to keep our spirits of our countrymen and the army always up.
All right, so stay with us. Let's shift our focus now to more international aspects. Now, the United States announced a new alliance on Wednesday with Australia and Britain to strengthen military capabilities in the face of growing rivalry with China. Australia now has turned to the US for nuclear-powered submarines. What are your thoughts on this?
See, the West, as we all know, has always been ahead of the times in terms of everything, be it technology, be it military, be it even entrepreneurship for that matter. So people actually spend time in the West, see the ideas, and then they take back to their own homeland and they start a business. So they are way ahead of us in terms of, they are over 2 decades ahead of us, in fact. So when people take ideas from there and they start that same venture in their own country, it takes time for technology to come here, to come anywhere. So when Australia takes these ideas from the West, I think, yes, in fact, Australia themselves is doing very well. But Australia also is at the risk of being hacked by Chinese servers. On 19 June last year, 2020, they were hacked. The Prime Minister of Australia, Mr. Morrison, was very magnanimous not to name the nation. But we all know who did that. So yes, Australia, when they take some technology from the US, they take idea, they want to modernize like the US. I think it's a very, very bright idea, and I think they must go ahead with it.